You are the most unique factor of your brand. You know your brand the best. You are the creative brain power behind your brand, and ChatGPT can amplify it. It's not going to replace it. So always, always, always remind yourself that ChatGPT is a really great assistant. It, however, is not always right. It's not even always factual. Welcome to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. Let's embrace making AI work for you. Hey, my feel good friend, and welcome to another episode of Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, the show that helps you leverage the power of AI technology without wasting your time, losing your mind, or selling your soul. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm so jazzed about today's topic because I love talking about your brand voice, not only honing your authentic brand voice, but how you can use AI technology to amplify your brand voice, not replace it. Right? Because I know that this is one of those things that most of us are worried about when it comes to using language technology such as Chat GPT, right? Chat GPT is really great for spitting out lots and lots of content all the time, but it's a little bit harder to hone exactly how your brand speaks to your ideal customers. And that's one of the most important things that we need to be doing when it comes to using ChatGPT and other AI technology, because we don't want to lose that authentic human edge. We want it to help us amplify our voice, not replace it, and not make it boring, definitely. So in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing 4 actionable tips for how you can do this with ChatGPT specifically. That's the one I've been playing around with the most for sure, but this can totally be applied to other language softwares as well. Now, before I dive into the nitty-gritty details, I do want to remind you that if you like this show, if you're enjoying it, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and go ahead and leave us 5 stars or a review while you're at it, because that truly does help our podcast to be boosted across the platform so that we can reach more people and spread our authentic AI message. Okay, let's get into using AI to amplify your brand voice, not replace it. Here's the thing. The best brands out there have a very distinct personality behind their brand. They know exactly who their brand is, and they know exactly who they're talking to and how they talk to them. That is how you differentiate yourself. That is how you get your people to choose you over all those other Jane Schmane brands out there that are just like yours, but not as cool. It's really important to hone your brand voice and make sure that it is consistent across all of your messaging. And now with AI technology, it is even more important that we hone our brand's authentic voice and teach our AI assistants how to replicate it in the most authentic way. Because here's the thing. There are a lot of people out there using ChatGPT in their businesses already for copy, for idea generation, for all that jazz. And a lot of those people are going to be using AI in the most generic way, which means that a lot of those entrepreneurs out there are all going to really start sounding the same. They might be asking ChatGPT the same generic questions and getting the same generic responses, and all of a sudden all of the emails that we are getting sound exactly the same. So in order to stand out, the best thing you can do is not only understand what is my authentic brand voice, what is my brand's personality, who am I speaking to, and how do I want to speak to them, but then also learn how you can ask ChatGPT to give you responses that sound authentically like you. So, the first tip I have for you is to set expectations for your brand and ask for brand specific content. I'm not sure if you'll find this to be obvious or not, but a lot of people are starting to play around with ChatGPT and ask it questions. And a lot of us are starting with the very generic stuff, right? Like, what are content ideas for making sales? What are content ideas for the wedding industry? And while like I'm glad that you could get specific enough to say the wedding industry, that's still not specific enough for you to really get content back from ChatGPT that will completely transform your ideal customers' lives. And a lot of people are asking those generic questions, and you don't want to be creating that same generic content that ChatGPT is suggesting. So, how can you ask ChatGPT for brand specific answers? Well, you got to get specific when it comes to your brand. So, every time I go into ChatGPT and I'm asking it a question about my business, whether it's to write some content for me, whether it's just idea generation, I will always tell it about my brand, who I am, what I do, and who I serve. So for me, for Feel Good Social, this is starting out every chat session that I have with ChatGPT. I'll put in, my name is Kinsey from Feel Good Social. I help down to earth entrepreneurs show up online authentically without wasting their time, losing their mind, or selling their soul. And then I will say, generate content ideas for me when it comes to using ChatGPT in an authentic way for your social media content. And sometimes I will even go deeper than that, right? If I'm asking it to write me a piece of content or try to come up with headlines for something, I will explain more even about my brand voice. And sometimes this is done through multiple messages, right? I don't always get the answers that I want the first time with my first little bit of input. Sometimes you have to hone your answers and your responses that you're getting out of ChatGPT. But make sure that you are being specific. You are giving ChatGPT context about your brand and you are asking for very specific ideas or content back from it, telling it exactly who you are and what you want, right? Because this is how you're going to get the most unique and you focused responses possible, which is super cool. If I would just go into ChatGPT and ask for content ideas for marketing, like that is very broad and that would get me a lot of different answers across the board. But me telling ChatGPT that feel good is a part of my brand, that authenticity is a part of my brand, that my angle is solopreneurs who don't want to waste their time, lose their mind, or sell their soul. Chat GPT can understand where my brand is coming at marketing from, and it will throw responses back out at me that are catered to my brand and my ideal customers. So, whenever you are going into ChatGPT to ask for ideas, copy, anything like that, make sure you are giving it specific context about your brand and your ideal customers, because that's how you are going to get the most unique, authentic responses that will really work for you and your brand. Okay. Okay, the second tip is to embrace it as a tool that can bolster your own creativity, ideas, and opinions. We don't want ChatGPT to just completely take over for us. You are the most unique factor of your brand. You know your brand the best. You are the creative brain power behind your brand, and ChatGPT can amplify it. It's not going to replace it. So always, always, always remind yourself that ChatGPT is a robot, essentially, and it wants to please you. It wants to help you. It is a really great assistant. It, however, is not always right. It's not even always factual when it comes to the stuff that it's telling you, right? And so always remember that ChatGPT or other AI technology that you are using is more of an assistant. It's more of an intern that is helping you figure out your ideas. It's helping you get work done. It's getting you there. It's a sounding board, but it is not the creative brain power behind your business. The best thing you can do is ask yourself, does this make sense for my brand? And does this make sense for my ideal customers? Make sure you are running it through the filter of your brand. You don't have to use everything that it throws out at you. And then even the ideas that throws at you that do work, I always like to look at the idea and think, oh, awesome. How would Feel Good Social approach that idea? What does Feel Good Social think about that idea? What are the action steps I would suggest to take action on that idea or whatever it is, right? So think about that for your brand too. Always run it through the filter of, does this make sense for me and my ideal customers? If it doesn't, leave it on the table, go with the ones that do, and then make sure that you're thinking critically about the approach your brand takes with this awesome idea that ChatGPT has thrown your way. Okay, the third tip that I have for you is to be selective about the content that you choose to use. And this does riff off the last tip. Definitely be selective with the content ideas, but also the language that you choose to use. Because you can totally ask it to write you something, but it's not gonna be perfectly you. There are ways that we can hone more of your brand's authentic voice and language and get ChatGPT to produce copy that is very similar to what your brand would write anyway. And that's awesome. But just realize that every time you're asking ChatGPT to write you copy, it's not perfectly done all the time, and that's okay. So I do this a lot for Feel Good Social. I'll go in and ask it to type me up an email or finish a story for me or outline something. And I'll ask it to write it in casual, easygoing, non-judgmental language, right? I'm still doing a little to hone Feel Good Social's brand of voice with ChatGPT. But anyway, I'll ask it to spit out fun-loving language when it comes to its responses so that hopefully it can create something that's similar to how I would write it, but it's never going to be perfectly written how I would write something. And so I will take what it has written for me and edit it for Feel Good Social myself. Sometimes I'll just take some phrases and words that I wouldn't have thought of off of the top of my head, but it's so cute and it's totally something I would say. Just make sure that you're giving yourself permission to edit ChatGPT and always be thinking, is this how I would actually say it to my people? Do I use words like bang for your buck? Do I use honey at the end of sentences? Do I whatever? Really be curious and pay attention to what your brand voice is. And over time, you will be able to hone ChatGPT and allow it to write copy that does sound very similar to you. But in the meantime, make sure that you are continually adding your own little quirks into the copy. Make sure that you're editing the copy that it sends you, because that authenticity in your brand voice is truly what will capture the attention of your ideal customers and get them to pay attention to whatever the heck you're writing. Okay, the final tip that I have for you is more of an action step that ChatGPT cannot necessarily do for you. And that is to make sure that you are telling personal stories and anecdotes in your content. ChatGPT can all day spit out ideas, really great ideas for tips you can share, for bigger opinions you can talk about, sales copy, puns. ChatGPT can help you with so much stuff. However, the one thing it cannot do is get into your head and live your experience in life, right? And stories are just as important for your marketing content as all that other stuff, because psychologically humans respond to them. Stories help us to learn lessons. They help us to put ourselves in a situation that we can relate to, right? Stories are really great for helping your brand actually sell, which is awesome. And we can get into that another day. But that is the one thing that ChatGPT cannot create for you. Can ChatGPT help you hone your stories, help you tell a story, revise your story so that it sounds better? Yes, it can help you do that, but it does not know your own lived experience. Whenever ChatGPT is like giving you ideas for a topic, for your content pillars, what to talk about, make sure that you brainstorm your own personal experiences and your clients' personal experiences when it comes to this topic, right? So, for example, when it comes to content creation, I could put that into ChatGPT and it can tell me to speak about authenticity in content creation. It can tell me to generate prompts that will help you come up with content ideas. It can tell me all of these different things. And what I would also think about, what personal experiences have I had when it comes to using ChatGPT in content creation? and what experiences have I heard from my community that they have experienced when it comes to content creation. So Chat GPT doesn't know that I have personally been testing it in so many different ways and so many different conversations. It doesn't know that my friend Katie tried to get it to pull quotes out of an outline and it gave her something completely different, right? It doesn't know that my friend Yenna tried to get it to analyze her podcast script and it totally threw back a response to her that had some made up woman's name in it. She's like, who the heck is Karen? I don't know. And so those are all personal stories and anecdotes that I could share when it comes to this topic of content creation for ChatGPT that it can't give me, right? So when it comes to you and your content, make sure that you are not only talking about the ideas that it's producing for you, the general content stuff, but brainstorm personal experiences and anecdotes that you can also share to bolster your content in that way, and pepper stories into your content always. Because that is how you will continue to make your brand authentic and human, and how ChatGPT can amplify your brand's voice instead of replacing it and making it boring. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed these 4 little tips. If you did enjoy this episode, make sure that you give us a like or 5 stars or whatever it looks like on the platform that you're listening to or watching this on. And also, if you would connect with me on Instagram, I would absolutely love that. I am at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. We're starting a little community over there, keeping the conversation rolling. So head over to Instagram, give me a follow at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will catch you next time I catch you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, my friend. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your shows.